strategic planning or just focus groups was that we met with members of the disability community. We met with families with children with autism, and we met with adults with disabilities and asked them what were they looking for, not in conjunction with the library, but basically what were their aspirations, what were their concerns in the community. And we really came up with 3 things that the community wanted, and through holding the conversations, we learned that this community wanted to have a central hub of information, somewhere where they could find information about their children's needs. For example, their physical needs, their legal needs, their emotional needs, their educational needs. There's nothing where the parents can find all the information. So that was one area. They also wanted free and accessible programs for the children that were geographically close, that they were relevant to their lives, and free or low cost, that they were lacking in that. And the third thing was a very simple thing. They wanted to be welcome into the library. They wanted to be welcome in the community, basically. So there were 3 areas that we focused on. And from there, we expanded on how we could meet the needs of the library. But what we did, and what I really want to emphasize about Harwood that's different from just regular strategic planning or focus groups or focusing on the library, is when we asked the community what they needed, we wrote a community assessment and shared that with other people. And we gained partners all along the way. So it wasn't just the library trying to do something alone. It was us reaching out to community members and them joining us, giving us more names, more resources, more people, more venues to hold conversations. And basically you're gaining partners and you're gaining information, public knowledge all along the way. So it's really important, I think, if I wanted to stress something else, to really engage the community in conversations. Do not overplan, don't take forever. That's what we did. We stumbled for about a year. Then we got Carlton as our coach, and he said, you have to put it on the calendar. You have to make it a priority. And it will not be wasting time if you go out, get these conversations, and this is good information. This is information that's gonna make your work worthwhile and relevant and important, and something that you can actually say, the public informed us in the direction we're taking. So that makes it all worthwhile. It's not wasted energy on guessing what does the community want. It's actually listening, taking steps, and checking back in with the community as you go. And I also wanted to mention that I can't take credit for all of this. We have a team of Harwood members, Heather Bratt, Janet Weiniger, and then Amber Clark, who passed away last December, were all really integral in this whole thing. And it was their footwork that made all this happen. So I was just kind of supporting the team, but I'm here because Amber's not here anymore. And Carlton, did you want to prompt me with a question? Or?
Yeah, I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about the actual conversations themselves. You know, who specifically you talked to? How did you go about doing it? What did that look like?
Okay, how we engaged the community was because Janet has a son, a 25-year-old son with autism, and she's our resident expert. She had a lot of friends and professionals in the field of autism. We invited groups to meet with us, professionals, and also a parent group. She knew of parent groups in Sacramento, and the Children's Museum helped us by offering a venue. So a bunch of families and kids with autism came to the museum and met with us in the side room, and the kids got to play in the museum while we had this 90-minute conversation, which was really great. So we engaged those parents, and we also engaged Teen Advisory Board. We engaged Jazzy Talkers group, and this is a group of nonverbal adults who speak with communication tablets. And we were able to, because of another staff person who was very observant to this group that visited in the library, just went in and asked them, can we hold a conversation with you? And they said, sure. So we gave them the questions in advance, and on their communication devices, they brought back the questions and their answers, and they replied with their communication apps.
I'm just curious, did you have to modify the conversations? What conversation tools did you use with that group and the others?
We did not modify any of the questions. We used the same questions that are listed in the Harwood training. So we used all of the 10 questions, used all 90 minutes. I think only a couple conversations we didn't get through all the questions. Maybe we got through 8 or so.
Mm-hmm.
We also talked to people at the US Mind Institute, the UC Davis Mind Institute, Alta California Regional Center, SASNA, which is an autism group for family support and advocacy. We talked to the executive director there. We talked to the Altadena, California Regional Center, and just a bunch of ask questions, which are the one-to-one questions. It's 3 questions. We talked to many individuals one-on-one. And it was an eye-opening experience to hear directly from the community what their needs were, kind of taking the library out of the picture and just listening what their aspirations and needs were. Especially the conversation at the museum was, there was a lot of people crying. It was like a release for them to be with each other and to share as a group what it's like to struggle with the many things that they were struggling with. And it was just a really
I can tell it affected you.
Yeah, it really did. And every time I talk about it, I get like this. But they're very open and honest. We learned so much from them. And, you know, they continue to be our advocates, and they continue to give us information. And we're really happy that we got to meet them. But these are people who have a hard time leaving home. There's not a lot of resources. They don't get a lot of sleep. They're stressed out. They support each other, and just getting them as a group together and hearing their concerns was really amazing. So there's a lot of fatigue. There's not a lot of outside support. So they talked about their respite services that they have, and just, you know, I had no idea the struggles that they're going through.
So let me ask you, if you come out of this not having any idea what the struggles they're going through, but obviously you came out of it being touched and having a better sense of the reality of the lives they live, how did that change how the library went about its work dealing with them? And, you know, what is it that was different? What did you end up doing with it all?
Right. So we kind of, as a library, we took their suggestion as being a hub of central information. We're not going to be really the central hub for medical or legal or things like that. We can, of course, refer, but what we did is we created 6 hub libraries that are regionally accessible in our library system that offer all of the services and the products that for the accessibility community. For example, we have each of the hub libraries has sensory story times, family-friendly movies. There are class visits without the public there, so the classes come in without the public, you know, if they prefer that. And we have We Speak library communication tablets at the information desks. So if there's nonverbal children or adults, they can use pictograms on the communication app, and that'll verbalize the need. We've done more outreach. We have specialized library tours. We're developing a sensory toy lending library. We are even hiring more people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The staff at the hub libraries are more knowledgeable about resources for the disability community, so they've been trained. And we've also done the accessibility team that we now have presented a disability awareness training for every single staff person, and that's like, we're almost at 300 staff have been trained in disability awareness. So that's not only for our staff, for hiring disabilities, but also for the public. So the hub libraries serve as advocates for the disability community, and there's definitely specific training at the hub libraries. So they're able to answer questions, be welcoming, be that source of information. And we hope to expand those after we just launched officially our hub libraries in April this month, and we hope to expand those in the coming year. We have unofficially had hub libraries now for about probably 5 or 6 months, and they seem to be going well. And we have more staff being trained on our communication apps. And
so another question for you is,
yeah.
You just launched your hub libraries officially in April, right?
Right.
And I'm curious, when did you actually go to the first Harwood training and start this engagement process? What's the timeline look at from the original idea to do something more turned outward to an actual result like this that the community can feel?
Right. So we received our Harwood training in May of 2016. So the official, it's almost been 3 years.
Almost 3 years. And you said you thought about, it was if my memory is correct, it was probably what, 6 months before the coaching started?
Yes, I have my little timeline here. December 2016 is when our coaching calls began. And then monthly when we met, with Carlton, we were able to talk about our concerns. I remember even asking, hey, can we change the questions? And the answer is no, of course you don't. So don't change the questions. They fit for any subject, and it's true. It doesn't matter what your focus is. The questions apply to everyone. They're tried and true, and they're just amazing questions to get to the heart of the issues.
And you think you lost about, you said a year, but I'm going to say 6 months.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, we had our 18-month arc, and we did follow through with writing our community assessment, following up. We had our storyboard, all the tools that Harwood offers. I think we took advantage of all the tools. And then we're continuing to take advantage of the tools. We plan to expand, doing more conversations just with any member of the public, not just disability families. We intend on doing more conversations to inform our strategic plan in the future. And there's one program that came out of this. It's growing, and I'm sure a lot of public libraries have people with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities that visit your libraries every day. Well, we have a Library Insiders program, and that is a program where adults with developmental disabilities come and visit with community groups. So we have at least a monthly program for adults with disabilities that visit the library every day. And the purpose is to help them feel welcome in the library and to be able to use any public library, no matter where they move, no matter where they visit, which branch. They're all pretty much the same. So we try to make it a very welcome environment for all the people we serve.
So you have a question here. Was this effort part of a larger initiative, or was it specifically targeted as an outreach to this specific group of people with disabilities?
Like, as I said a little earlier, we had provided some services for people with disabilities, but not to this extent. So it wasn't really a special initiative. I think it just grew from the community conversations and expanded as our accessibility team grew, and more people got interested and joined from our library. It's like a large committee now, it's a large team. I think there's about 18 people involved. And from here, it kind of just, I guess, grew on its own. We didn't decide we're going to do this thing.
So another question I have is, if my memory serves me correctly, when your first group from Sacramento came to training, you had maybe 5 people?
We had 4.
4,
Oh,
okay.
wait, let's see. Yeah, Janet, Heather, Amber, and me.
Okay, so you had 4 people. And now you're at a point where you're doing conversations pretty much across all your branches and you're using it in strategic planning. And
Yes,
I was wondering if you would talk
Uh-huh.
just a little bit about sort of the trajectory from going from 4 people using turned outward practices to a whole system using it.
Well, we'd like to send more people to the Harwood Innovators Lab, but for now, what we've done is we've created a training just to hold conversations, and we created a PowerPoint, and it's based on Harwood practices, and it's got a list of the questions, and I've made the resources available on a SharePoint drive, like our team management drive. So each branch supervisor has been trained in how to do a Harwood conversation, and they will hold at least 3 per branch or per smaller region. And we hope to have 80 conversations by December 2019. So that will inform our strategic plan. And we've begun to do our ask questions, which are the one-on-one conversations as 3 questions.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing that at the Central Library.
Very cool. Any questions from anybody for Kathy? Let's see here. What steps did you take to get other community partners not already involved in sensory awareness to be involved in helping with community conversations? Or I would say just in help in terms of programming services, working with you on the hub libraries.
Well, I would say just try to contact people and see if you get a response. I would say the cold calls, we didn't get as many responses, but it's really the personal contacts. So our staff contacts with the people they knew, and then the people they knew talked to the people they knew. So it's exponential as far as reaching that one person, that person reaches another person. You really need to let go of control and let the community take care of it. So in other words, it's not the library leading this thing. This thing has a life of its own. The people will support you and join you, and it just grows that way.
Yeah. It's provided that the program is relevant and impactful to people's lives.
Right. And when we shared the assessment with everyone that attended, after they attended, we actually gained a couple more people that way. So just the attendees that left us their contact information, we made sure everyone who was part of a conversation received the community assessment, which is basically the 3 things that the community told us they wanted. And we shared that and gained a few more partners that way.
So we have another question here is about, is the process improve the community's understanding and compassion of people with disabilities?
I think it has, because I think our staff, this is 300 staff or 250 in the public area that now have training and understanding and a little more information that they can share with the public. So I believe it has. I think there's still a lot of work to do, but I believe that the customers that come into the library are seeing a difference. I really believe they are.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, how do you envision, given the experience that you've had in terms of gaining public knowledge through conversations about people with disabilities, and that informs your hub communities? I'm wondering, how do you see the public knowledge from your conversations in all your branches? How is that going to inform the strategic planning process? What do you think that looks like?
Well, with any conversation, we didn't go in knowing how it was going to end. We had no idea it was going to be something so simple that no matter which community we spoke to, we ended up with 3 themes, the inclusive and the program and the hub information. So I don't know what to expect because I'm not expecting any particular thing. We're going to go in there and just listen and document what people say and find the themes. And from there, the information will emerge. We think it might be about safety, it might be about homelessness, it might be about education. We don't know. I can make a broad guess, but I think what we'll do is just let the community tell us what's on their mind. And then we, as a library, will try to fill the gap